A goal, Quishbilly, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Quishbilly's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
And Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. The games are coming thick and fast, and so is our Carlos Corberán propaganda, as yet another fan club throws its doors fully open. So pop on your red and yellow lanyards, get your passes and free sangria from the table, and join us over the next hour to wax lyrical of the second coming. And if you're wanting to form a group with a few people, what goes better with that than a few beers? This episode is sponsored by the best brewer in these fair lands, who are Magic Rock Brewing. Both tap rooms are open for in and outdoors, and you can now book online at magicrockbrewing.com, where you can also get 10% off orders courtesy of Just Knowing Us. Use Take That Chance 10 on checkout, and you'll get a nice 10% off any online orders. Okay, so from tap rooms to tapas, joining me, myself, Matt, who ate all the paella Shaw. This week we have Richard El Coso Loco Cosmala. The returning El Toro in a China shop is Neil Wayne. From a long sleep, it's Siesta Copland. Dancing onto your screens is Brady Flamenco Frost. And finally, Pos Detras, it's Dan Podsaporit, although sitting in front of the curtains like that, Dan, I'm very tempted to start calling you the Wizard of Pos. Right. So online, hopefully tonight, we could possibly have Tom drawing again a couple of little bits and bats. So hopefully I don't get stitched up as a Rolf Harris Rolfaroo again this week, Tom. Hopefully something a little bit more masculine like Thor would do nicely. Thank you very much. I'm not sure, but maybe that's what I get for living in Leeds. Who knows? Okay. So I thought we could kick things off this week in chronological order. So for me, it's important to judge the window. So we'll go transfer window first. And I think it's very important to judge the transfer window, not only on the last 2 weeks, but as a whole across the entire summer. So the aim was pretty clear from the club. So a couple of things that they've said over the last few months are the intention was to unload as many big earners as possible, strengthen areas of weakness, bringing players suitable to Corberán's style within a budget. Okay. So we had mention of a new committee whereby Carlos has the final say. In terms of outs, including loans, we shared 18 players. An estimate of how much they all went for is somewhere around the 30 million mark. That's me using fag packet math, so apologies if that's way wrong. Conglo, a big earner and possibly a bad egg, so I was relieved to get rid of him. In terms of incoming, loans including Diakabi and those returning are 9. So Pieper, Hamersar, Eitingen and Benza have all slotted into the side, which is very nice. So let's talk about the window itself. So Lee Bromby has gone on record and said they want 2 decent players for each position. The Rolando Aarons deal fell through at the last minute. Carlos has said that he doesn't want a striker, etc., etc. Very shades of Leeds United there, getting frustrated with only Bamford to have up front in the Championship. So how do you guys think the window went in general? So I'm going to throw this to Sai, because you're back for good. You know, I better take that coming out there. How did you judge the window? Because we've not heard from you for a while. So let us know what you think of the window as a whole. I'll come to a poll that I stuck out. Steady on there. I've come to a poll that I've put on Twitter. So we'll come to the results of that shortly. But I'd just like to know, you guys talk amongst yourself about the window itself, how you think we've done over the course of the summer, and how pleased you are with certain players that we've brought in. So, Sai, kick us off.
Yeah, evening, gents, and those who are listening. I think overall the window was a success, particularly in the defensive third of the field. Pieper certainly looks a great acquisition at right back. I'm amazed we picked him up so cheaply, judging that on kind of his first few performances in a Town shirt. Really think he will kind of both give us a kind of good cover defensively, but a good outlook going forward as well. And I was really impressed to see him kind of galloping up the pitch kind of yesterday evening, kind of even right at the death there, before he got substituted. Similarly, kind of Sarr looks a good acquisition, very much fits for the style of player that Corberán's looking to bring, and you can see that he'll be an asset kind of passing out of the back. I think probably at the same time, having said that, a little bit underwhelmed by what we've now got kind of in the attacking third. Completely take your point, Matt, that
not 5 strikers, say.
I think we'll go on to that, Cos. But yeah, just been a little bit underwhelmed in truth. Kind of Grant, Mounier, kind of our two by far and away kind of biggest goal threats and kind of top goal scorers last season. Seemingly, or at least in my opinion, not replaced. I do fear as to where the goals will come from. But at the same time, on the evidence of the last 2 games, maybe we don't need an out-and-out striker. And Benza's actually impressed me since he came back in. I think he's done okay, but kind of jaw is still out, I guess, in the longer term. And similarly with Diakabi, really, as to kind of whether or not he can will justify his big transfer fee. Certainly hasn't to date. So all in all, for me, a kind of a good window, but very much work to be done, particularly in the attacking third.
Brady, Joel Pereira was one that's come in, which I was a bit unsure about. I wouldn't say so far that it's a bit of a waste, but it seemed to be, for me, a role. Obviously Ryan Schofield's injury sped things up there, but it seems to be that with Ryan Schofield's back shortly, and Joel Pereira is probably going to be third choice, maybe. How do you view this loan signing that we've taken? Do you think it's maybe good to have a look at him because of his age? Good to have a look at him in the B team because he's been playing in the B team. With a view to maybe looking at him long term, because his contract's out at the end of the season. How do you think this will play out? Because it doesn't look like he's going to play a lot of games, and that doesn't always necessitate that it's a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair point. I mean, what we've talked about previously on the pod, I think, given how Hamer was in pre-season, I actually said we should have started him. I think we can all admit Ben Hamer's been pretty good. To be fair, he's improved quite a lot, and I'm pleased for him because we want all players to do well. I think with Pereira, it's an interesting one because I think his contract's up at the end of this season, isn't it? And again, depends what happens. I mean, Hamer could still go through a bad patch. It's a shame. Well, it's not a shame, but obviously, if we hadn't lost to Rochdale, probably might have seen him in those games in the Carabao Cup, and you might see him in the FA Cup. I don't think it's a bad thing. Again, it was cover for Schofield. That's what the kind of the club and the Examiner said about it. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's, again, I can't really comment on what it's been like because I haven't really seen him play, and we haven't really seen him play for the first team. But yeah, bit of a weird one. But signings as a whole, I actually think who we've signed. I mean, we've not really seen Danny Ward or Alex Vallejo. Yeah, but I don't think who we've signed is. I think we've got some good acquisitions. I think it's just, again, as Si kind of mentioned, it's more who we've not replaced or who we've let go. You touched on it. 16 to 18 people left, and
that's including loans going back.
That's absolutely, and people going out on loan like Reece Brown. But we've only seen 3 of them, 3 of the new signings really, and I do think. Again, I'm sure we'll talk on it and talk of the past 2 games, and it's really positive, what we've seen. But I still think the squad's weaker than it was last season. And, Corberan's got off to a great start, and we look to be playing some great football. But, it's a weaker squad, so it's going to be a hell of a task for him, I think. Especially, I think it'll be interesting when we do lose a game or lose a couple to see how we deal, because I do think goals is still a massive problem as it has been for the last 5 years.
It might be a weaker squad, Brady, but people like Congolo and Grant, they ain't going to be asked, to stay second fiddle in the training ground. I think you've only got to look, last couple of games, how the spirit is just like, you can't have people now. I never used to kind of believe, I used to think individual skill, that'd always win the day. Spirit is good to have, but it's not essential. But honestly, it is. You've only got to look at the goals like we scored last night, the energy that we've got in the place. Congolo, absolutely delighted. That was one of the best things on that Friday when everyone were losing their SHIT. We didn't see him disappear, I think, until 9 o'clock, did we? That were the best things, seeing him go out. Good riddance, mate. Absolute disgrace to Huddersfield Town for a good couple of seasons as well. Grant did a good job, but yeah, we drove an hard bargain and out he went. I was disappointed to lose him, but to be honest, I was just surprised it took so long. But obviously, Phil Hodgkinson drove a bit of an hard. He wanted to get what he wanted to get, and fortunately, it kind of happened really late on. But I'm a big believer that kind of we want the spirit. Obviously, Smith Rowe wasn't ours, and I didn't think we'd get him back, and we haven't. But he was a loss. But really, if I'm putting everyone on the spot, are we bothered about many that we lost? Are we?
I don't think it's that. I think it's, I agree. I mean, I wasn't counting Congolo. I mean, obviously you got Mbenza and Dean Carby back, who you weren't expecting. But again, as Si mentioned, say what you want about Carlin Grant. I know a lot of us have said, we didn't really feel a connection to him. 19 goals last season. Mounier got us a lot of goals. I take your point. The squad harmony seems better, and I think that's a good thing. But I don't think you can, say, in my opinion anyway, that the squad's better overall. I think starting 11's pretty good.
It's hungrier, Brady. We've got people to come in that are hungry, man.
I just worry about the depth because kind of.
I agree,
games in short succession. Fraser Campbell, with great respect, cannot play 3 games a week every week if he can manage it in 1 week. And I just fear when we get to kind of the crunch in December, when we've got a few injuries, a few suspensions, possibly, will we have the players to come in and kind of maintain what we've done so far?
Maybe, but I would argue that some of the younger, hungry guys. I mean, Critchlow, MOM, Forrest, never seen him since. It just shows the competition now. Bosie and Carlos has got everyone kind of on the same page, and we don't want people. I mean, my only disappointment, Pritchard's still here, but everything else, really. Yeah, we're going to need his luck with injuries, but I think you've only got to look at the last couple of games. Last night, we've got guys who are hungry, been waiting for his shirt. We've persevered with some of these wasters for too long now. And yeah, right, we'd love backup at every, quality backup, but we're also a town, we're kind of bottom half championship. Let's be realistic, we're not going to have that. So I get what kind of people were saying and stuff. And yeah, I did think we were definitely a striker light. I'm sure that'll be probably put right in January. But I'd much rather have hungry players and a spirit that we've got. Christ, look at Pacuna last night, run 40 yards for a ball. Did you see him sprint? He was like Usain Bolt. Where's that come from? I'll tell you why. Because he's up for it, mate. And all them lads are. We want people who are up for it.
That's a good point I was going to come on to shortly as well, Neil, is that in particular with the likes of Isaac and Benza at Swansea, which we'll do in a bit. But there seems to be a full buy-in with everybody. Everybody's bought into what Corberan's brought to the club. So having said that, do you still think we're maybe one option short up there? And do you think Rolando Aarons is of a sufficient quality to replace somebody like Carlin Grant? Because we've made, like I say, I've plucked 30 million out of the air. What we've made in this transfer window? It could be much less, could be much more. Who knows? But do you think we should have maybe looked at bringing someone in of a sufficient caliber to replace him, or just trust what we do? I know you love saying trust the process, but should that be what we're doing?
Yeah, I said that all that not.
WhatsApp group names.
Naby Sad said that today in his tweet.
He did,
so, yeah.
Did it?
So,
I couldn't believe it. Yeah,
it needs to stop it, doesn't it? Just stop it, Naby. Don't do it. I think for me, the window. We've got a comment here on the YouTube feed from Paul Gibson, and he said, and this sums up a lot of how I feel about it, really, that he wasn't happy on Friday, but we seem to have a good tight-knit bunch fighting for each other, and he thinks we're one attacking player light. And I'd go along with a lot of that, because I think on Friday, I was pissed off on Friday. I think Huddersfield Town fans in general were well and truly fed up on Friday. That we'd waited all day and we didn't get the attacking option / striker. I'm not necessarily sure it's a centre forward we need, to be honest, because the goals have come from Grant, who played majority of his time, and where the goals came from were that left-hand side, weren't they, if we're being honest. So I think we probably need. I think Danny Ward's definitely been brought in to play as that number 9 role. Aarons, is he good enough? Looking at his stats, looking at previous form, looking at comments elsewhere, you'd probably say no if you're being brutally honest. But having seen the Carlos effect over the last few games, I think you've got to look. Remember, looking back at start of the season, we did all the previews and stuff. I said that there will be one player that comes out of this that'll be like Click at Leeds, who was vilified by the fans, hated by everybody. They all wanted him gone, and I don't think he's missed a game under Bielsa. And I said there will be one of them. And to be honest, I've called them all sorts on here. And happily, if I'm wrong on one of them, but I think, and I'm going to say it out loud, so it's for everybody to hear.
Are we recording this, Cos?
Yeah, I genuinely think that Mbenza could be that player. I do.
Stop
I'll be honest,
the press.
For an hour at Swansea. I know you said we get to it, but go for it. We're into it. For an hour at Swansea, I thought it was excellent. He were up and down pitch. He were tracking back. He were left back. He were right back. The miles he'd put in, the effort that he'd put in, absolute chalk and cheese from the waste of space we've seen since he signed.
We were doing it last night, Neil, and
I
remember
feels
he was.
wanted now,
He was.
doesn't he? You know, he's happy now. What did he say? He feels wanted.
Yeah.
So
He's decided to put a bit of effort in for once.
As a footballer, that's massive, isn't it? And we've said it all along, and I've said it a million times. For 13 million quid, he's given us. He hasn't even given us 13 quid's worth back yet, and that includes a goal against Man U. So he has got a long way to go to still pull this round. But the signs that we've seen, very positive. And as much as, we've been critical, I was openly critical on Friday. I've been openly critical for probably a month or so. And I'll be honest, I stand by everything that I said because I'll say what I think, and it's my opinion. Some people won't agree, some will. But you've also got to hand the praise out when it's warranted. And let's not forget, as much as people are giving stick out, the one thing that will not change, and Pos put this out on, it was either on here or on a tweet, I can't remember, and it's bang on, the one thing we all want is Town to win. It's that simple. It is that simple when it comes down to it. Everything else around it don't matter. You cannot like chairman, you cannot like the manager, you cannot like whoever, but when it comes down to it all, at 3 o'clock on a Saturday or at 7:45 on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, we just want to see Town win. And at the moment, we're winning, which is nice. And we're actually doing it with a bit of style. I mean, that goal last night was ridiculous, wasn't it? What a cracking goal that was. And that's all we want, innit? We're happy. We're easily pleased. We're very easily pleased.
Sorry, Neil. I thought you'd finish.
I'm on one, aren't I? I've been listening to this for 10 minutes.
You paused for breath and I dived in. Sorry, go on.
But I think we definitely need further attacking options. I think we're still light. I think, they've come out and communicated this, that, and other. I'll be honest with you, I don't agree with the saying that we've got 5 strikers on books. We haven't, have we? We might have as a whole, but if you're classing first team strikers at the moment, you can't look any further than Campbell, Ward, and Karoma for me. You can't include other two yet until they've had substantial minutes or at least been included on bench a few times in a month. So for me, we haven't got 5. I think in January, I think that'll be the focus of the attention, will be the front end of the pitch to support what we've already got. But positive sign. Lads who've come in look good, don't they? Let's be honest. I think Sal's been one of those who could scare us a little bit and excite us a little bit. So bring it on. Carry on winning. We'll all be happy, won't we?
Pause. Let's come to you last but not least. And I think I'll throw the 5 striker thing at you as well, because we're going to discuss a couple of things that Phil has said in the chicken interview. Stephen's done an interview in the Examiner, which is great for everyone to see. Much needed communication from the club, etc. We brought in Alex Vallejo. I don't think anybody knows a thing about him, so we might gloss over that. But we know he's a defensive midfielder from Spain, 28 years old. Looks very much in the sort of number 6 role. Who'll just be a big one. Who similar to Stankovic in that he can rotate in and out at the back. And we'll see what happens. I just hope he's not Carlos's version of Porovic, but we'll see. We'll see when he gets a couple of games, and hopefully he fits in well. So the 5 striker thing from this is Phil from Stephen Chicken's interview. He says it's important to note we have 5 strikers at the club. Josh Karoma was signed as a striker 12 months ago with a view to developing him for 12 months, and we're now at that 12-month point. And he's started to show what he can do. We've got Danny Ward, who unfortunately hasn't been able to play a league game yet due to injury. And he'll be coming back. We've got Fraser Campbell, and then we've got coming through our academy, and I would say these are B team players now. We've got Kian Harrett and Kieran Phillips. So we have 5 strikers, if you like, on the books. And it seemed to be that this led into, it wasn't so much, I think people have focused on this in particular as, we've got 5 strikers, we're fine. But I think reading the interview and then reading the subsequent press from Stephen as well, seemed to indicate that this was a precursor onto a bigger point, which was that we are a development football club and we are looking at bringing footballers through. And if we sign too many players in certain positions, then this stops the whole, we're going back to Ross Wilson out with the pathways, etc. This stops the, we need to essentially clear the airways for Harrett and Phillips, etc. to take off. So do you agree with this, considering the point of where the club is now in terms of that we are a development club, or do you just, or do you have a different take on it?
I kind of agree with what Neil just sort of preempted that with. Yeah, you can name 5 strikers, I think strikers is probably people are getting hung up on that word striker as well. To me, the way that we're looking to play, we probably don't need 5 out and out what a class of strikers. We need forwards, i.e., maybe one in the middle as a striker, and then 1, 2, either side that you wingers, stroke forwards, stroke attackers, more than the actual word striker. So I think sometimes wordplay comes into it, but I definitely do think we are short in that department. Looking at who we've got, Campbell. I put some bits and bobs together in preparation for this, but looking at his championship games history, he's 159 played, 44 goals over a 46 game season. It's 12, 1 in 4. Danny Ward, it's 220 with 41. Over 46, it's 9, 1 in 5. And then Karoma, has only just joined us, so he's played 12, scored 1, which is 4 over season, 1 in 11. So on paper, we're looking at, if they all played 46 games, you're only looking at 25 goals from all of them. And obviously, they're not all going to play 46 out of 46. So as an actual, goal scoring, front three, there's not an abundance of goals in there. On the flip side of that, when we got promoted, we didn't have an out-and-out goal scorer. We had, I think, Kachunga were highest on 12, and then we had 3 or 4, just after him, who got, 9, 8, 7. And there seemed to be goals throughout the team, which strikes me as how we're going to look to score as goals this time. Similar with Leeds, they didn't have an out-and-out goal scorer, and people said that they'd struggle. But again, looking at the goal last night, if that's the sort of football we're looking to play with, dragging defenders wide and cutting them back in, attacking fullbacks, getting wide, putting the crosses in, and your midfielder bombing forward, if your midfielders can get you 10 each a season, something we've lacked massively in previous seasons, all of a sudden that out-and-out striker doesn't actually matter. You don't need anyone to get you 20 because those 20 come from, elsewhere. I think we do need to bring someone in. It were quite interesting that Phil came across with it. We've got 5 strikers, yet we were trying to sign, Rolando Aarons, who is a striker, and there's rumours circulating that we're trying to bring in a striker, who's a free agent at the moment. So we've either got 5 and we don't need any, and we're bringing Harrott and Phillips through, or we're a bit short, but we just didn't manage to get our targets in. Depending on how you want to look at that, people will and make their own decisions. I think it's good that we're trying to bring the youth through. I know we're sort of moving on to that interview in a bit more detail probably later on, but he did kind of let me chuckle a little bit when he did say we have this, sort of reputation. I think he overplayed our reputation at bringing the youth through. I had a quick look, and last season I think Lewis O'Brien's probably the only one that we've brought through who's played a decent number of games. So although that's where we're heading, I don't think it's anywhere where we are now. Last couple of seasons, even going back to when Wagner came, really, there's not been not many coming through. So I appreciate what he was saying about us, wanting to bring people through from the youth team and look to become that club. But for me, he overemphasised the philosophy that we've had. He made it out like, we've been doing it for years and years and years, and reality, we haven't. I think last time we had any decent numbers through from youth team were probably when we were in League 2, and that was literally because we had no money, so we had no one else. So yeah, move towards that, but don't try and use that as an excuse that we've not brought players through, because that's the sort of club that we are. It's more that we're looking to be that club, and if these guys are good enough, then yeah, what is the point in bringing someone in just only to stand in the way? We can't say whether these guys are good enough or not because no one's ever seen them play. So I suppose, again, that's up to them to back up Phil's opinion and his words, and only time will tell whether that's a good decision or not. Just coming back to the window right quickly, I do agree with Brady. I do think it's a weaker squad. I think the numbers are down and also quality is down. We've seen over the last couple of games that when we've got as best 11 stroke maybe 14 players available and we can get them on pitch, that we'd probably be all right. I think Si said it coming up to Christmas, take 3 or 4 out of that with injuries. We're putting 3 or 4 younger lads in. We could start to struggle then. Again, time will tell. On the flip side of that, you look at Leeds last year, a lot of people said that they had a small squad. They managed to play the strongest, 14 players a lot of the time. So you don't know, do you? You haven't got a crystal ball. You won't really know if this window's been as successful as what we're saying until maybe Christmas time, because if we'd have lost 2, everyone would be on here now shouting and ranting that it were an absolutely rubbish window. But because we've won 2 in quick succession and we've looked all right, all of a sudden it becomes an half decent window. So again, come back to us all, just coming up to Christmas, see where we are in league, see how we're performing, and we can reassess it then, I think.
Can I just jump in there a second?
Sorry, go on, Si.
So I was going to say, so one lens on things would definitely be that developing youth players is a philosophy of the club, and I do believe that to an extent. Another lens on things would be that having had to have read some of those younger players is a consequence of not having had potentially enough people coming through the door in terms of signings and having no one else to fill the shoes, or 2 kind of players been out of form, kind of not selected, etc. I think kind of Matty Daly would be a good example. Matty Daly's been around the first team now for kind of maybe 2 seasons. He's had a couple of injuries, yes. Kosi, obviously, we were away at Charlton, weren't we, when he kind of put that goal in right at the last minute. But with the best will in the world, he's not been able to establish himself in the first team. He's not been able to command a place on the bench this season, at least, under Corbyn. So I think to say kind of those players are coming through to the first team is arguably a little bit premature. And kind of you could say that for Phillips, for Harrott, for Daly, actually is the best place to develop at Huddersfield Town, or is the best place for them to develop to go out on loan? And whilst we've only got the size of the squad that we have, it's unlikely they will go out on loan because they may be needed. And I kind of another lens on things again would be that actually we're stifling their development by keeping them in-house. Not to say which one's right or which one's wrong, but kind of
depends on the quality of games for the B team, really, doesn't it?
I think that's where that B team comes into it. If they're playing decent sides, then sorry Neil, if they're playing decent sides, they're probably better off in our B team playing against a Man United reserves, for example, than maybe somewhere like Southend at a lower level. So I suppose it just depends. All that size, it's very relevant, and I do agree in what you're saying. If they're not playing first team football, yeah, you might be stifling them, but if the B team setup works as they're wanting it to work, actually staying with us, you don't know. Again, it's one of them, and time will tell. It all this new system and B team and everything like that, it's all new to us, so we can't say either way whether it'll work. And again, it might even be 5 years down the line before we can say it was a success or not.
And don't get me wrong, I hope it is. I think there's nothing more that a Town fan or any fan likes to see is a player from their own club's academy kind of come through and develop into the first team in the way Lewis and O'Brien has. I think we all want more players to do that. I think Lewis, O'Brien aside, and Klitschko obviously the other night, there's still quite a way for some of them to go.
So we're saying thumbs up. So quickly, thumbs up, thumbs down about the transfer window. What we're saying? Are we all saying yeah?
Somewhere in the middle.
And I think that reflects pretty well on our poll as well here. So we put a poll out which is just finished, and it says transfer window topic for tonight. How do you see HTFC's summer transfer window on the whole? Good window, okay, leaning towards good, okay, erring on bad, and poor window. Unfortunately, there's only 4 options there.
There's
so
2 ways to judge it, though, isn't there? For me, you can judge it on the amount of players you've bought in or the quality of the players you've bought in. And if you're looking solely at the quality of the players you've bought in, you give it a thumbs up because they've all looked good so far. I think looking at it on numbers, would all agree that it's still a bit light. So I think it's probably somewhere between sort of that.
It's okay-ish.
What's frustrating for me, we've won 2 games and our first story is about transfers. I'm sick of it. Let's talk about football.
Chronological order. Let's finish the thing.
No, sorry, Matt, though, but this is sort of so I'm not about who we haven't got and this and that. Let's talk about the lads who have been awesome the last 2 games. Forget about who could come and who could have come. Let's big up our lads that we've got on the pitch now, because, we've done enough about transfers and stuff like that as well. The football's doing its talking. Yeah, we might look back in December and January and we could be under strength. But to me, I'm just so excited with what we're seeing at the moment. I can't wait for Saturday. I don't think we've seen football like this since under Bruce. The Wagner stuff were great to a point, but that Tottenham game, that were it for me. We're playing front foot football after that. No limits are gone. We've got it back. We've got something pretty special. And that goal last night was sensational, man. It's been retweeted. I've had people from all over the world tweeting me, look at this. This is Huddersfield Town, mate. This is the new Huddersfield Town where there's no fear. People aren't passing it back after half an hour. There's people are not, like you said, Neil, Naby size like last night. Like, oh my God, what is the guy doing? But this is it. just sit back and enjoy what we've got.
I want to hear that and enjoy the football.
I'm loving it, man.
I mean, that goal last night, I mean, I tweeted it earlier on, just a simple one. 18 seconds, 7 passes, goal. And it was so simple. I mean, you've got to, let's caveat it a little bit. I thought Derby were absolutely dreadful last night. And I'll be honest, I didn't think we were that great first half, if I'm being brutally honest.
We struggled first half, yeah.
I thought it were an okay first half, and I think we both looked average. I think second half, Carlos obviously worked a little bit of magic, changed a few bits around in second half. I think we were comfortably at best side without actually hitting the heights of the Swansea 70 minutes, if I'm being honest.
I think that's the thing for me, Neil. There's so much improvement to come, and yeah, we rode us. Look, I spoke to someone last night who were totally opposite. You know, Swansea should have beaten us. They missed so many chances. Yeah, they missed some big chances as well. You know, Derby were terrible. Worst Derby
So
I've
did
ever
we,
seen.
though,
Blah,
against
blah, blah.
Swansea.
Yeah, but I look on this so much positively. Like, we got these 10 points. Forest, we were really good. You know, the others, yeah, we rode us. Look, but there's so much improvement to come from this team. It's scary. We've only just begun our kind of journey. And, we could end up 14th, 15th. But you know what? I'm going to enjoy watching us every week, because when you've got centre-backs like Sarr, like Stearman last night, were like a winger. And Cafu, Pippa, or Danny Alves, call him what you like. He's just Toffolo. I'm scared that we might lose him in January.
Harry Toffolo could have quite conceivably bagged that trick on Saturday.
Oh, the cutback.
We don't need strikers, do we? We've got a left back who gets it boxed more, so we're all right.
He genuinely could have got a hat trick Saturday. Obviously, got his goal.
But Neil, don't you think that cutback just sums up where we're at the moment? A selfless act, mate.
Yeah,
under the Cowleys and before, that would have been someone had a blast, someone had a shot. I'm going for the glory. Beautiful, mate. Beautiful.
Toffolo's probably been our best player for last year, to be honest.
Yep, 100%.
If we've been totally honest about it. I mean, ever since he came in, he looked good, didn't he? And they were playing in a struggling side last year. And I'm not saying we are going to struggle this year. I've said we are. We're going to.
I said the text.
The style that we're playing now, I messaged you earlier on, I would love to see, as an out-and-out Cowley player, which he was, because Cowley signed him from Lincoln, having known him, I would love to get Harry Toffolo one-on-one and ask him his genuine thoughts on his enjoyment playing the Cowley way and his enjoyment playing in this role that he's got now.
I sent a text last night saying, get Bakun off at half-time, and then he does that. You know, the guy is unbelievable, isn't he? It's unbelievable.
Do you know what was pleasing about that goal last night? Yeah, it was a really good goal, but you can see that move that they did last night, they will have done 20, 30, 40, 50 times in training, literally just doing that. And, you know, you watch these documentaries on Amazon and, you know, you go behind the scenes at your Tottenhams and stuff like that, and you see them doing stuff like that. And you can actually see that were a drilled move. You know, like if people work on set pieces and free kicks, they will have done that time and time again, because there were a couple of occasions in that move where if you watch it back, we get crowded out, I think on halfway line, then it comes inside, we're crowded out again. And the player that receives it, I can't remember it, but it's almost like he's naturally turning in that position already. It's like drawing the players in and getting round them. And that, for Carlos as well, something like that is massively pleasing. And as a fan, it's nice to see that there's some actual... We've got a dead ball. We're going to try and get a goal from a dead ball, which, you know, it's ridiculous. I know it's a little bit stupid, but then, you know, you watched the other day, Kosi, I saw you take the ball past the ball, and it were a little bit like that. They had a plan. As soon as that ball went from Amer to Sad, there were a plan already, and it wasn't let's get to halfway line and see where we are. It's we know what we're doing the whole time, and it's just actually nice to see.
You know what's nice? You know what's nice with the Bayern? I remember saying it here last year. That Luton away game last year, when we were playing it out from the back, and God, I forgot his name, Camille Grabara, we're getting absolute hammered, abuse from the crowd. So much so that he changed it, and we just ended up smashing it long, and we ended up getting beat. You know what? We're doing that now, but like people are buying into it. It's almost like you've got to see kind of an end goal. Those that I don't want to buy into it can go off, but I just think we're going to have to accept as fans, because it is going to, I mean, it nearly cocked up last night. Sarr, shocker. You know, luckily they didn't take advantage. We're going to see some stuff like, what are you doing there? And I do wonder as well if the fans are in there. That's the interesting bit. There's no one kind of, oh, God, get it up and all that. That has a big influence, I think, on a lot of players. We haven't got that at the moment, sadly, because we can't get in. But I just think at the moment, people are just going to have to put up with it. And like you said, Neil, as fullbacks are like unbelievable, bomb forward. There's going to be times where we're going to be like caught out 5 against 2. Swansea with Son Saturday, we were winning, and anyone else, like especially under Carlo, would have been like behind the ball, back, park the bus, feigning injury. We were trying to get a third, and it's just like, it's beautiful to see, but I just think we've got to accept it, because we can't come on here in another podcast in 2 months when Stars passed it to centre forward, it's gone in. This is Huddersfield Town now. We're going to have to accept it, and I'm loving it because you're excited to see what could happen.
Can't tell.
Matt, did you want to do your points? Because I can.
Sorry, I was just replying on Twitter then. I went off and did something else.
No, it's what happens when you don't let Kosi, when we bang on about the transfer window for too long.
The agenda's gone, Matt. Rip it up and start again.
I think Kosi should take over. Costal take over again. Go on, Kosi. Off you
go.
go.
My enjoyment last night, Matt.
Nah, you go for it. Off you go.
Nah, go on, mate. Go.
Right. So where were we?
Don't talk about Swansea, Matt, because it won't surprise you to know that I didn't watch it. So
I know. Well, that was the plan. I was going to come to you first about Derby as well. I'd lined it up. I thought, do you know what? Pozza, watched his second game of the season. Well done, mate.
Super. Now we're winning, mate. I'm involved again.
You're there every week. Behind the curtain is your iFollow pass, is it? Is that what
That's
it is?
Mate.
Well, I was going to say, finally, on the thing that 50% of people think that the transfer window was okay, and that was kind of like the last point on it. But what would be interesting is your guys, if you've changed your opinion on, because the preseason we made a load of predictions based on not having seen anything, and now all of a sudden we've seen the wonders of Carlos ball, and I'm just wondering if a couple of you guys have changed your mind already on what you've seen. I think the answer is going to be yes. Brady, I asked you to do some research, but you were busy. Have you got people's finishing positions, or shall we just roll with it?
I don't. I'm sorry.
It's early, isn't it? 6 games in, man.
I still think, I just to come on to that, I still think we'll be lower mid-table. I think if we can have if we finish 14th and we don't look like we're going to get relegated any time, but we play well and show progress, I think I'd take that. I think that's probably how I see my aim still. Sorry to be a bit of a bummer. Still think we'll play some great stuff, but yeah, I think it's 14th, something like that.
I think the thing is, Brad, there's still some people, I don't want to name them, but there's still some people.
Name them.
There's still some people.
Shame them.
That we've not finished this clear out yet. We've done a lot of clearing out, but there's still some people there, and a couple of names will probably surprise you, but there's some people there who I think don't see themselves at Huddersfield Town next season. We need them out. We might have to take till January. So we've got rid of a lot out, but you just want everyone in the same direction and things. And there's still some business to do, I think, in January. We haven't got everyone out. And I'm just trying to, maybe I'm just a bit, rose-tinted glass, but I'm just imagining this canal side super training ground, which I'm sure we'll come on to, and everyone just there wanting to race down there in the Porsches.
I just think we need to, I genuinely just think we need to temper this excitement a little.
I agree, Neil.
Is Neil frozen?
A little bit. I don't want to sound like
back.
doom and gloom, but we're sick. I don't care. It's realistic, isn't it? We're 6 games in. We've all said at the start of this that we're still at least 1, maybe 2 players light at top end at pitch.
Yep.
Oz has gone through the history of the lads who were classed as our strikers now, as our front players. Let's call it that now, rather than strikers. This style will take its toll physically on these players. There's no doubt about it. You've got games. If you look at fixtures coming up now, we're literally on Saturday, Tuesday for a good 4 or 5 weeks. So this fixture list and this style will 100% take its toll on this squad. There will be injuries. You take Toffolo and Pippa as examples. Take them 2 out now, and nothing against Jayden Brown and Dehaney, but it ain't the same. So it's crucial that the crucial players like that stay fit to let this keep rolling. If they don't, slight injuries, knocks, suspensions, that's when points early on the doors now are vital for me. Let's not get carried away looking too top end.
Kosi's not happy with that one.
On YouTube, Paul Gibson says, "Sod the realism, we're going up, Neil."
Well, yeah, I put that on Twitter earlier on today, and I thought we're up. But
isn't it nice though that we can have that sort of that
absolutely
banter though,
definitely.
People, what football fans like in general, they're a bit bipolar, aren't they? 1 week we're fully relegated and clubs are going bust, and 2 good wins, and all of a sudden, Carlos is taking us to the San Siro in the next 5 years, to quote the old.
I think the one thing on the side,
it's much better,
it's better to be. You can have a bit of fun with it, can't you?
Of course you can, yeah. And with this side, with this division, let's be honest, this division's crap. There's no two bones about it. This division is not very good across the board. It's already shown. It's shown in Premier League with the results in that they're set up. Anybody can beat anybody. This league, anybody can beat anybody. We can beat anybody, but the squad is still not strong enough for me, not by a long way. And I think, I mean, this. Don't get me wrong. We all love the winning. The style's great in it. Watching these last 2 or 3 games, sat watching them has been cracking. Just sitting back and relax. And you know, even if we hadn't won at Swansea, or if Derby had equalised last night, won't actually take anything away from performances for me, because we've got a style. We've got a style that as a fan you can get behind. It's good to watch. And we will cause ourselves problems at back end because of how we play at front end. And I'm all for that. Give me that rather than Cowley having 10 behind ball any day of the week.
We're staying up though, Neil, now.
We're going up. You know, never mind.
We're staying up. We're going up.
Yeah, we're up. Champions.
Neil's booked his first ticket to Wembley.
I predicted that we'd be relegated, but I did think we'd go down. But I'm with Brady. I think if we could finish top of the bottom third, if that makes sense, sort of 14, 15, 16th, without having to look over a shoulder too much. And if we keep this up and we finish in top 10, I think that'll be a magnificent season. So,
see, I'm not
again,
about positions. Positions are just irrelevant for me at the moment. I just want to watch us. I just want to watch us play football. I just want to watch us play football. I can't believe I'm saying it. You want to watch. That's what you want to watch. That is the football you want to watch.
For me,
I can't wait till Saturday. Can't wait.
For me, as I say, is it not nice just to be able to look forward to a game of football? I can't say the last time I was excited about going to watch a Huddersfield Town game or turning on the TV and watching a Huddersfield Town game. Maybe Arsenal at home under that kind of final game of that season. I don't think since then, arguably, I've really looked forward to watching a Huddersfield Town game. Whereas this Saturday coming, I'm excited. I'm going to plan my day around it. I'm going to be kind of logged in early, etc. Don't want to miss any of the action. And in kind of that period between then and now.
I mean, like Brady last night, the I follow.
Well,
oh, God. What about you?
Okay.
I think Omar being there.
I was struggling. Yeah. No, I was watching, mate.
I think that's the intriguing thing, though, for me, because you can always throw stuff the other way. Like, yeah, Rotherham, we probably should have won with a striker. Swansea should have beaten us probably if they had luck. Forest, I'd say it were complete performance, but you can say Forest were crap. Swansea on another day should have bet us. That worst Derby. So I like this because it's like.
I'll be honest, Kosi, I don't agree that Swansea should have beat us. We missed as many chances as they did, and we scored too.
That man just said they should have got 5. I don't know what he was smoking like, but
I think the thing is, guys,
we've had 5, and Ben's has hit post. Toffolo's missed a sitter. There's been other chances in that game. For me, we fully deserved that win at Swansea.
Yeah, I think the thing is, lads, as well, like, how many times have we felt like luck hasn't gone our way? I think, you can talk about Derby and Swansea, and like you say, on another day we might have lost, but how long have we been like, yeah, do you know what? It was like 50-50, could have gone either way, but it was on our side. Like,
do you know what, though?
I can't think the last time.
Me and Kosi had this conversation earlier on, and for me, you make your own. You don't get lucky by chance. And I know that probably sounds daft. You make your own.
How do you work, the lucky you get?
Absolutely.
That used to be Wagner's little saying.
Yeah, and it's right. The way that we play, we will force mistake upon on defences this season. Look at Derby. Great move last night to score a goal. If you talk to their manager, he'll probably pick fault in 3 or 4 of their players defending, nailed on. But where the nature of how we play and how we throw bodies at him, there were 4 people trying to get in box for that last night when we broke. But the nature of how we play will leave us open at other end. But the more you're piling on, you're going to make your own luck, aren't you?
Yeah, what we said after Rotherham, though, we were saying how many crosses went in the box and didn't get there. Lo and behold, the next 2 games, beautiful, picking out people and that as well. We're getting better. We're coming on. The training ground stuff's working, and it's class, Matt. Matt, is any comments? People saying we're Champions League. Am I going to be watching us on this TV?
Struggling a bit with YouTube. To be honest with you, it's stuttering a bit is a thing, so it seems a bit behind. But a couple of people are talking about luck. I think make your own luck, etc. And Paul Gibson thinks Dehaney could make a surprise a few from there. And Terrier7N2 says he doesn't really think Hogg is a core brand player. I think Hogg's reinvented himself a bit. I think he's fitting quite well, although At Swansea, I thought the midfield, it was really interesting to see that tactically. And anybody who's watched our illustrated Corberan special, if you like, will see that the two Leeds people on there talk about tactics in particular, and with regards to the back three, and that he will shift to a back three from time to time if the opposition play with two strikers, and that's what we saw. And I think what Hogg in particular struggled with is he was dropping back into his natural number 6 position into the defence, and that seemed to be causing too much panic deep, and therefore Swansea had the run of midfield in the first half an hour. But in both games, Swansea and Derby, I think it's noticeable that we've made tactical switches in midfield. Corberan is very much on the spot, in terms of tactics and switching. We saw so many different changes in shape, changes in, moving personnel around, and it's working brilliantly. Schindler popped up in midfield last night, against Derby. It was crazy for 2 minutes. It was crazy watching him, watching how slow he was in midfield.
Said last night, listening to it. Well, when you watch it, listening to it, Oggy, when they brought Schindler on, Oggy straight away said, extra defender on, going defensive to make sure. We know what to do with that. It was just a case of twisting things to...
Yeah, they put more strikers on.
They put more strikers on, so they stick another on. And what people won't notice there, a lot won't, like Oggy in particular, if you're watching, you didn't notice. But after that, you've still got Stearman doing his Danny Alves.
What were he doing up there? Why were he over
there? We haven't brought an extra defender on. We've just brought a different player to suit the formation at that particular time.
On in Sheffield United, is that pause? That's what they do down there, isn't it? The overlapping centre backs. But I thought what was really good in that second half is that they noticed Tom Lawrence was playing as a false 9, dropping into space, and Derby were hitting him really early. And then all we did was we condensed the space between defence and midfield, pushed the defence up, and that denied him that space there. And Hogg sat on him, and Stearman, etc., came out and caused it, and that took the game away from them. And I thought tactically, it was Corberan's changes which really led to us winning the game. And the goal itself is amazing, but we'll go back to the goal against Swansea as well. I need to cough in a minute, as you can tell from my voice. But the goal against Swansea, I think we need to have a little bit of a Josh Koroma fan club assemble. There we go, that's my conch. Josh Koroma.
That's you what?
A conch.
Oh, conch.
Careful.
Yeah,
come on. You like him, but coming step
Not 9 o'clock yet.
Only 10 to...
From Anchorman, yeah. It's the Anchorman news team assemble thing. I haven't made that. Silent Silver Fox. So Josh Koroma for me, that goal as well, fantastic against Swansea. It was another team goal down the side, and Campbell. We didn't think Campbell would be a player for this system or for any system under Corberan, but again, he's proven. He, as well as Hogg, I think, is proving people wrong, and he's making it difficult in the box, which has then created the space for Koroma to come inside and find the bottom corner. Did okay, but another player, Neil, you mentioned it earlier, Isaac Mbenza, and it's fantastic to see Mbenza really in the mix with everybody. And what really stood out was I watched his press conference, from when was it before? So it'll have been Friday before the game, Thursday, Friday. And I quote, he said, "I love Carlos Corberan." And you can tell it's coming across. And all of a sudden, I'm not a big Instagrammer like Kosi is, but you can see he's gone from and splayed across the bonnet of a Lamborghini like he's about to appear in Granada Men and Motors to all of a sudden it's all about Huddersfield Town, in his Instagram stories. And he's got full buy-in. And this is the amazing thing that I'm taking at the minute. Oh, well, not the amazing thing I'm taking, but the amazing thing to see is that all of these players buy in, and that therefore feeds into your transfer market as well. We talked about transfers, and that again, with what Phil said, in the chicken interview, that you've got to be careful with who you bring in, because you don't want people like Congolo coming in and breaking the spirit that this has in the squad. And like Kosi says, it's fun watching Huddersfield Town again. I want to be there on Saturday now. I haven't really been that bothered about missing a game for a long time, but now on Saturday I'm thinking, get me in the ground. I want to be in there. I want to see this. And Kosi, I think you'll completely be the same, won't you?
I'll tell you what you need to give a rap to, Matt. What save again from our much...
He's on my list, yeah, Ben. Big Ben.
And if you think of at the start, I'm kind of going up as end of the pitch now, and that's well. The Norwich goal was obviously a disaster from Stearman, but after that, Forest didn't score at home. We didn't concede last night. Do you know what I mean? I think arguably we could have had no goals conceded in these first 3 home games. I'll forget about Rochdale conveniently, pre-season friendly and all that. But I mean that's where you kind of seen improve Ben Him, and it's. I just wonder though if people were in, whether we'd be. I mean, it's all a hypothetical, but. I just wonder some of these guys. You might be new, Neil said it pre-season, but the fact that people are in the ground, people are expressing themselves. Amos maybe thinking how to get loads of abuse.
100% it's helping. Absolutely no doubt about it that it's helping. Because Hamer's not got the pressure of, if he does make a mistake, he ain't got 15,000 people on his back straight away. I mean, to be honest, and Benza, I don't think people would be on his back. They're just people just being pissed off to see him because he's done literally no since he arrived. But now he's one of them. Like Matt said, you want to go watch a game. But
I want to talk about it as well.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah, and it all helps, doesn't it? And the fact that we're playing well, it's not even that we've just won last couple. It's the fact that there's definitely a definitive style there, and it's a good style in it.
It's feeling that pride again. I mean, how many times we've seen that retweet of that goal today on Facebook and Twitter and what have you? People's like are wanting to say, I mean, I've been proud of it. They're like, my team's Huddersfield Town. It's got an amazing goal, and I want everyone to see it. People don't even like football and stuff. And normally, I mean, you'd always should be proud of your team, but let's be honest, the last 2.5 years, who do you support? And you're Huddersfield Town. Now it's like, do you know what I mean? It's things. I know it could all change next 2 weeks. We could lose to Preston and Birmingham, and we could be doing this next Thursday, like everyone's firing in. But I just think you can see it's not just like we've won, it's you can see what he's doing. That's the beautiful thing when you can see as a fan what, and when you're watching like Bakuna just sprinting like that to score, it's just like,
it's like the Stoke goal last year under the Cowleys. Now he sprinted from the halfway to get on it, but he was, he started it and finished it, and it was just such an amazing goal from start to finish. Even Naby Sarr's ball round the corner, to Toffolo. Toffolo takes it on the chest and plays it forward. Under any other manager, even David Wagner, he heads that back to Sarr and then they start again and move from the back. And they just don't take the risk. But the risk is getting the reward, and it's great to see. And
it's little stuff you notice, Matt. Like after the game on Saturday before I follow finished, you could see Karomo going down to do an interview with, I think it was Adam Tomlinson on touchline.
Yeah.
And there's him, Bakuna, and Mbenza just messing about
spraying
and water on each other, and
it's like I said, it's full buy-in. They're all in it now.
Absolutely, you want to see that. You want to see them happy. You want to see them bouncing off each other and looking like they actually care.
I think the best
they're like kids, aren't they? In a way,
Yeah.
It's a little bit sad in a way, isn't it? Because you think, it must be absolutely exhausting as a football manager to continue having to sort of blow smoke up these people's asses, for want of a better phrase. But if at the end of the day, if it gets results, you think they'd have that some sort of self-motivation to be like that anyway. But if it works, then fair play to Carlos, get on with it. And the young lads, it's if they're having fun, they're having fun, and if they're winning, they're having more fun, and if they're having more fun, they're winning more. So
the best thing for me is like in these games is that second half we're getting fitter. We're going for it. We're, like under the previous regime, we won't be doing any of this. We'd just be sat back, time wasting. We'd be aiming to be taking his goal kick, or I'll take it from the other side, pissing about, stuff that you don't want to see. Yeah, I mean, at Swansea, I was like, whoa, guys, we're in front here. Let's just calm it down, but no bollocks to it. We're bombing forward for a third, and we'll probably get caught out, and we'll be on one of these. Well, why did we just hold it in corner? Now it's 3-3. But you know what? Give me that any day, man, than what we saw before.
It's exciting. Brady, I was going to say, you make your point, sorry, Brady, but then tell us how our predictions fared for the Swansea game.
Oh, okay. I just want you can't cut me out there. I just wanted to say with
I hope so.
3-5-2. Cheers, mate. You're the 3-5-2. Our defenders, triple S. I'm going to call them Stearman's, Sarr, and Schindler. I thought they've been great. I think Schindler was great in the Swansea game, and Stearman was amazing.
My man of the match, Schindler. Yeah.
Just I think that was really good. You've kind of thrown me now, so I'm just going to talk about that. But I thought Swansea would lose. I think Kosi said Ayew would score, and he was right. So did Pozza.
Was that a penalty? Do you think? It seemed a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit. I think it's one of them. If it's your team, you'd cry.
Run up as well. Questionable run up as well with him going backwards and stuff.
I tell you what, Brady, you should have scored again. Woo, unlucky. I'd have been behind goal doing that foul.
How did
mouth still open from that, isn't
it? I mean, Jamal Lowe. I can't believe he missed that. Anyway, right, okay, I've done stalling. Right, I said 3-2 win for Swansea. Wrong. Kosi said 2-2 and Andre Ayew to score. Wrong. Matt said 2-1 win for Swansea. Wrong. Neil said 2-0 win for Swansea. Wrong. Pozza said 1-1 and Andre Ayew to score. So nice positive vibes from the group here.
Nice.
I'm not going to predict a win all season if it carries on. I'll be honest. It's not happening.
Well, Brady will tell me my technique, won't you? Because we did the same for the Derby game, and there was a very specific. Yeah. And I said I'm going to predict a 1-0 defeat again because I've done that 3 times in a row and we haven't lost yet. So, but now I've said that, it obviously touch wood and do the old superstition routines. But Brady, you went to watch HTFC women on Sunday, didn't you? You went down to their home ground. I think it was a home game, wasn't it? That they played. Was it Nottingham Forest that they played?
Yeah, it was Nottingham Forest. It was great. So I went down to watch them at the Stafflex Arena, in Stores Hall.
It's a great place, isn't it?
It's a really, I've never been. It's a really nice little ground.
Sausage sandwiches are ace there, Brady.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? The food. Get the
They're
food
out of sausage, but I got bacon. But it was class. I think just especially as soon as we're not allowed to be in grounds, to see the men's team. I think you should go see the women's team because. I spoke to, obviously, people saw the picture I got with Laura after the game, and I had a chat with her, and I had a chat with the assistant manager, Marcus Wilkinson, and it was good. It was great to see live football. They play some nice stuff. Forest were top of the league going into that game, and Town beat them 2-1. 2 cracking goals from, I think it was Beth Stanfield and Katie Malin. They're level on points with Forest now at the top of the league, along with Flight. So, it was only a fiver. It's great to see live football, and even when Town, if we ever are allowed back into the John Smiths, I think you should go see them because they don't clash. And like I say, it's a fiver, and it's great to see live football and see Town win and do well. And again, like the men's team, they've got a new manager. They're trying a new way of things, and it seems to be paying off. So I'd really recommend it. They're playing Sheffield away again, restrictions, so we'll see what happens. But good luck to them. And I encourage all fans to go down and cheer them on.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll echo that, and we'll check in with the team from throughout the season, no doubts. Right, so the aforementioned chicken interview. I presume you guys have read this. I'm looking at Paz in particular. I know he's read this. And there's a lot in there that I've written down, but most of it's surrounding money and a lot of it about transfers. So I'm going to cut that out based on Kosi's froth from earlier. So we'll make sure we don't make that mistake again. But there's a lot here about money, and let's have a look through it. I think one key thing as well to mention, an interesting point, was that Dean Hoyle's deferred this year's payment, repayment back to him, which was great to see because I think a lot of people were questioning whether he still liked the club and whether he was, happy to see it struggle, but that's obviously not the case. So that's great to see that Dean's done that.
He was there last night, wasn't he? Sorry, Matt, just to cut in, but he was at match last night. So that's
I think he's been there every game. Yeah, he's been there every game, I think. Every home game, I think. But he's definitely there against Nottingham Forest as well. So it's good to see because it seemed like he'd lost his mojo a bit, didn't it, in terms of being there at Town, but he seems to be there and loving it again, which can only be a good thing. Comms came up as well. So we've obviously challenged Mark Devlin, well, not really challenged, but said to Mark Devlin, we're happy to sort, etc., a Zoom meeting out. But I don't really think that's probably necessary anymore because a lot of things have been answered, and there's going to be a Canalside video as well, I think the end of this week sometime, which will show you the changes in Canalside. I think the only negative to that is with it coming from the club, it probably won't answer some of the questions people want, such as the money that was set aside and not spent, etc. But I'm sure there'll be other chances to question that. So what did you guys make of the interview, really? I'll throw it open in general terms. So Sai, we've discussed it very briefly on WhatsApp, didn't we, before tonight. What did you make of this, and what did you make of Phil? Because to me, it just seemed pretty much a case of, I think Phil came across reasonably well, but it seemed to be a case of, right, I've got this plan. I don't want to tell you too much about the plan, but don't worry, we're going to stick to the plan, and the club's safe, essentially, was the main take-home points I took from it.
Yeah, I think, first of all, you've got to kind of recognise and compliment Phil, Lee and Dave for taking the time to speak to Chicken at Huddersfield Examiner, and I think kind of also compliment kind of Chicken for the way he asked the questions and the questions he put to them, because there were some quite juicy, meaty topics in there, and it had been very easy for him to perhaps have shied away from some of the bigger questions in favour of greasing the wheels for future information and for his job kind of going forward. Right? So I think kind of, first of all, kind of probably recognise both parties' kind of participation in that. I think by and large, kind of it was well received. I kind of was disappointed with some of the answers, some of the questions. We've referred to the reference to 5 strikers. My view also would be that kind of Rolando Aarons, based on his kind of stats, is not a replacement for Grant and for Mooney that particularly excites me. Happy to be proven wrong, and who knows, in time maybe I will be proven wrong if he either becomes a free agent, having been left out of Newcastle's squad, or we do go back in from him in January. I guess that remains to be seen. So perhaps in that respect, didn't kind of get the answers I wanted in terms of kind of we will kind of invest or kind of we will look to spend semi-big in January on a striker. But to my point previously, nevertheless, kind of good of them to kind of face into that and answer some of the questions really. And like you, kind of look forward to kind of hearing a bit more about Canal Side really, because I think is one of the things that was quite emotive throughout this. It was obviously billed as the Premier League legacy, and I think right now, as I do at least, and I think a lot of Huddersfield Town fans sit here thinking, well, what is the legacy? What have we got to show for that time? And hopefully that'll go somewhere to addressing that.
Anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah.
Go on, Brady.
You sure?
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is, again, we get labelled for criticising the club, not criticising the club, bleeding up the club's arse, whatever. I think the thing is, before this, we were all disappointed that the club didn't talk to us as fans. You know, they were on TalkSport, they were on BBC Radio 4 talking about football and not talking about Huddersfield. So I think they've done this. They've done the Altogether Town meeting as well. So I think you've got to say fair play. They've spoken to us now. I think with the article, did they say, you know, I'm pleased they answered some of the questions. I wasn't particularly happy with some of the answers, but fair to them, they've come out and said stuff. I don't know about you, guys, and maybe again when I've written stuff, maybe when you're chatting to someone, it does. When you write it down, it doesn't come across the same. But I think there's kind of the main thing I kind of picked out. Only one of my criticisms really was the kind of tone and some of the stuff. And again, maybe that's just getting used to Phil and how he talks with stuff. And like, you know, obviously we had Sean Jarvis and we had Dean Hoyle and they talked about it differently. But I think there was a bit where Lee Bromby, who I thought came across really well in it, actually, he's talking about how we can't detail the plan and talk about it every day, every night. And then Phil interrupts and says every hour. And I don't know, there's just something about that seemed off. Again, happy to chuck it out the way. But I think it's just like, for me, I don't think fans wanted to know what's going on every single hour about the club. I think it's like Pozza said, you know, when Swansea won and people were like, oh, I bet the people who hate Town are happy, aren't happy that we won. It's like, no, you can genuinely ask, you can want your team to win, like we all do, and still ask questions about the club. And I don't know, I think that was the only thing for me. I mean, I know we've talked about, you know, the 5 strikers. We've done that a bit to death. I think Rolando Aarons, I agree with Si. Like, it's kind of like, if he was our top target, again, happy to be proven wrong. But it's kind of like, it's still not great. He's talking about him being a top target. And again, happy to be proven wrong. But it's kind of like saying, well, I was going to get this car, but, you know, didn't quite get it for whatever reason. But it's like, not necessarily a great car anyway. And again, I think the money thing as well, money in the club.
Took it on a test drive for 2 weeks, so.
Well, that's it. But again, I'm happy to be proven wrong. But I think that was it for me. I think the money, you know, keeping some of the money makes sense. I think it's good to hear that at the end of the day, we are going to have a club, even if fans aren't allowed back in for the rest of the season. And the shirt sponsorship as well. I'll be interested to see what that is. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was just kind of, for me, I know Phil's got an opinion and, you know, he's the chairman and, you know, fair play. I couldn't run a football club. But I think there's still kind of a tone thing for me where I think, again, with Mark Devlin, we've touched on it, but I think it's kind of, it can come across a bit patronising sometimes. But again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, you pretty much said what I was going to say there, Brady.
Sorry, mate.
No, you're right. You take the glory for it. I picked up sort of similar undertones throughout. I thought it was, I don't know if they planned it this way, but I do think it was clever timing to do it after the window rather than during. And if that were always the plan to do that,
yeah, they say that. It was,
say that whilst all the fans are kicking off. Say, look, we can't come out and give too much away because we're still looking to do deals and X, Y, and Z. But because the window had now shut, he had that. This is what's happened. So I can almost say what I want. We didn't get a striker in, so we don't need one. we've got 5, we don't need any. If we bring a striker in, or he can come out and say, look, we've got a striker in, we've done what everybody wants. So you can tailor that interview with Stephen Chickenwich to suit the scenario that we were in. And to me, that's what he did. He seemed to talk a lot, but not really say a great deal. He didn't give me any more information. He kept saying that we've got a plan, which, that's brilliant. Seems to be the plan to bed the youth in, so that's similar information to what we had. Yeah, I agree that we don't need information every minute, every hour. Again, I think that was a stupid throwaway comment that didn't need to be made. It's a dig.
We don't want it. We don't want it, do we?
We don't need it.
We're
not asking for it. I don't need to know what they're having for the breakfast and the dinner. We don't need that level of detail. We just need an overview of certain things, which he's always been asking for. Just coming on to the money. You were quick to talk about how much, we spent 13 million. We've still got money going out for players that we've previously bought, but failed to mention that we'll still have a lot of money coming in. He never seemed to mention any incoming money. It's one of those, I think nobody's asking. I agree with Brady. I think that holding the money back is probably a sensible thing, maybe for certainly for this season, and then just see how the land lies. And if that is the plan, just say it. Just come out and say that. Don't make us read between the lines of what you're saying. Just come out and say, look, we're not going to be spending loads of money. The idea is to get to the end of the season. We'll have a healthy pot of money in the bank next season. If other clubs have overspent, that might be a time that we can go to them and pick off some good players at a really cheap price. And you'd sit back and think, do you know what? Yeah, that makes a really sensible plan. But when you're guessing that, you're still not 100% sure. I don't think anybody were wanting us to go out and buy a £10 million striker. I think it were more the numbers thing. You're looking at Aarons as being the top target, and you don't know much about him because he's not played. All I know is that Motherwell fans didn't really like him, and last season he couldn't get Wickham's team. So you have a quick look online and you see that he's barely scored any goals. And you're thinking, well, if that's what we're hoping for, is that the bar? Are we ever going to get anyone better than that? It's and then we didn't even get him anyway. So he's been from what I can gather, he's been in and around the club. Yeah, the grant deal might have been holding it up, but that whatever documents needed to be completed should have been completed literally apart from the signature. As soon as Grant goes out of that door, here, sign that, send it off to Newcastle, get it all done. Why are we buggering about at the very last minute? Again, it just looks from outside looking in as a little bit.
Well, he says there's a change, doesn't he? That's the thing. From what Stephen said afterwards, he says there's a change which wasn't done by either football club, and when they say it wasn't done by either football club, it's either sounds like it's the player or the agent. Yeah. And then when an agent sees that you sold someone for 15 million quid, they're, what agents are like, they're absolute top, shit houses, And, sorry, I added that button. I wanted to use it. So, we don't know what's happened. We're not going to get to find out what's happened, but it could be very well that he's gone, hang on, they've just made 15 million quid. We can get a piece, a bigger piece of that. And Phil's just gone,
screams out agent to me.
Yeah, and Phil's just gone, do one.
Out agent, yeah.
And to be fair, if that is the case, then he should get credit for that. But he's never going to get the credit for it because we'll never know. So that's a double-edged sword, really. But and obviously he can't say that because he's got to deal with this agent in future as well. And the other thing that he said as well was that the money's sat in the bank, as we don't know when we'll be back to normal, whether that be 3 to 24 months. And he also indicated a wage bill of around 22, 23 million, double from the last time we're in League One, Championship, which was 11.6 million basic. So he's indicated a big wage bill, and he says the main concern is to look after the football club, make sure that's financially fine. To me, it just sounds like he's just gone, do you know what? Job's knackered at the minute. We'll keep this money here just in case, just to see. And then when things are back to normal, then we're going to reassess. That's what I took from it. Kosi, jump in. Sorry, you were ready to jump in.
Yeah, I think the thing with the interview, well, first thing, bravo, Stephen Chicken, because he asked the questions that I wanted the answers. I think Brady's right. It's really weird when he's sitting writing, and maybe it'd have been better to do it in a video form, but it doesn't matter. It's done when it's done. The thing that disappointed me, I don't know if anyone else gauged it, but it's like we've been saying before. It almost felt like the club were dragged to this interview. It didn't feel like it was. I could be wrong here, and I get whatever Phil said, and Lee and what have you, and that as well, and Devlin, it will be, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. But it just got the feeling we're like, we don't want to do it.
They felt they had to do something.
Yeah, we're doing it begrudgingly, and it come across in some of the typos. It's disappointing to me because if you know your people, if you know your customers, I know it's awful to say that word, you can gauge it. And yeah, we don't want to know anything. And yeah, I think Phil were right on some of the
So
things.
the thing is, Kosi, there's one way to get round that, isn't there? I agree with you. I agree. It came across as it was very much a, for fuck's sake, we better do this because it's getting, let's shut everybody up and do it. I think if it's a lesson learned for the club, I hope, and I think they need to look at the communication from this day forward and drop bits in here and there. You don't have to tell us everything. It's not. To be honest, it's not how much money we've got in bank. Is it? It's not to do with how much money we've got in bank and stuff. It's not to do with we pay, we go watch football, we get behind them. We hope they sign players, they sell players. This is what it is. That's football. All we want is a level of openness that makes us feel attached. And I think there's things gone on since the change in ownership that has got people's backs up, whether it be little mistruths here and there about certain stuff, Man City away, etc.
But you know what, Neil?
But there's only so long you can beat people about that. And I think from this day forward, they've come out now and said all this. And I think now it's got to be put to bed. But lesson learned for the club and just be more open with us across the board.
I just wonder, though, if I think it's a lot of stick to it. They're not in the ground. They can't really get the feeling. I think if you're good, you gauge it. But I just think it'd be totally different if we're in the ground all of a sudden, because let's have a look at the start. We might have been down to 8,000 and then it's like, oh shit, we better do something. We better we better engage the fans. We've been telling people for a long time that the fans are disengaged, and wins are going to definitely obviously change that. But I just feel it was like, because we're not in the ground, we haven't been in the ground since March. It's hard to kind of, because I've got to think of the problem in my job when you're like a line manager, connecting with your people. It's very difficult, isn't it? Because they're out of sight, out of mind. But I just think if you're good at what you do,
let's be honest, though, Kosi, the club are across every part of media. They'll have watched Chicken's podcast, or watch this, or watch other. They'll be on down the back, don't bother, lads. They'll be on there. They'll be on everywhere, looking at whatever is going on. They know. I ain't being funny. If they didn't grass the mood at the fans, they're doing something majorly wrong, because the mood of the fans has been loud and clear for everybody to hear.
It was just like a couple of things that, sometimes I think maybe Phil's just that. Maybe that's just how he is. But I just personally, and I don't know about you guys, but some of the things he says, it just doesn't make me warm to him. And I just think, why have you said that? Like he mentioned money in accounts, and why don't you just look in accounts? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? It's all there for everyone to see. Well, not everyone's an accountant. Not everybody can work it out. Not everyone can look at the,
Not everything's in the company. Not everything's on the balance sheet as well.
Exactly. Someone said, I think Chicken asked him, have you put any money in? And he went, yeah. And well, how much? Oh, well, it'll be out in accounts. Yeah, it will be, but that's in about 3 years. It's in 2022 that'll come out.
One thing I will say,
forgotten by then anyway, and it'll be merged in with other stuff. So if you've put some money in, Phil, just say, yeah, I've put a couple of million in, or 5 million, or whatever. Just say. If we're going to find out anyway by looking at these accounts, we're going to find out. So just say it, And that, I don't just mean about money all the time, because one of the things he does get, lambasted for his money, and probably by me more than anybody else. But just be honest. Don't be cryptic with stuff. Don't be arrogant. The quote at the end made me laugh. When, what did they say? We're not egomaniacs. And then I think, well, there's only been 2 people in national media shouting about state of football, Phil, and that's you and Mark. So are you egomaniacs or are you not? If we're all right, keep quiet and get on with it.
I think a lot of that came from our podcast that we did, where he said so many clubs would go under, and that seems to be where he's been contacted for opinion on things. But yeah, I think some stuff he won't be able to answer due to NDAs. The very first podcast we did, we pretty much asked him, did you buy this football club and for how much? And he said, well, I can't tell you because it's an NDA. I've signed an NDA, which means I can't tell you how much I've done. And and that's fair enough. You know what I mean? Legally, he can't tell us.
He said that, Matt, and then he's told people that he's, when his accounts come out for his Pure Sports consultancy that actually own Huddersfield Town, to look in their accounts, and he'll tell us how much he paid for
legally he can't say, but if you're clever enough, you can work it out. But yeah, I agree that the way there's maybe the way he might have said it, but I'm sure I'll get someone to work it out. I was going to say I'm sure one of us could work it out, and then I had a look at myself and I thought,
well, that company only had £10 in accounts last time I looked, so however much
There's
I've
about
gone
20.
through it
There's
since
about
then.
20 of them, mate. Yeah, it's difficult. There's quite a few of them scattered around, but I'm sure we'll work it out at some stage, and I'm sure he'll tell us.
The thing I just kind of add is like, I don't want to sound like Kosi and like let's just focus on the positives, but like I moaned about not speaking to us. They've spoken to us now. Let's like I don't really want to hear from Phil in a while now. I just wanted like I want to. They've said this stuff now. Let's see if they live up to it. And if in January, if we're like in the relegation zone, then yeah, I think you can ask questions.
I think the one thing for me, I think you're right, Brady, and I think the one probably not surprising thing for me is that Mark Devlin didn't do it.
Yeah,
because I think is probably a little bit too abrasive, if shall we say. And I think him and Phil, because Phil's quite an out there character, and I think that rubs a lot. Yeah, I think that rubs a lot of people up, and I can see why. Mark Devlin has not really found favour with the Huddersfield public as of yet, so I wasn't really surprised that he wasn't part of it.
No, I mean, tough. In fairness to Mark, tough act to follow with Sean, but I think like we touched on it with the.
It's following Julian Winter. It's not that.
Yeah,
hard,
it's not following Sean.
Oh, sorry,
he's not following Sean.
Julian wants
Julian at Swansea somehow.
I had that lined up at the top as well. This one's for you, Whopper Winter, but never mind. Yeah, with the Swansea thing. But yeah,
I think just to sort of bring this little discussion to a close, because I'm just conscious of time and stuff like that. I've been quite vocal on here and on social media and stuff. And like I say, I don't particularly warm to Phil, but as I think Neil said at the start, you don't have to like the chairman, you don't have to like the manager, you don't have to like any of the players. We all, and I especially, want Huddersfield Town to win football matches. So that is, fair play. I might not like you, Phil, but if you get us promoted, then well done. And he was keen to tell us how that he appointed Carlos. So well done for that, Phil. I'll give you that one.
You know what?
He's got two managerial appointments, right? I think
took some balls to sack Carly. Not many done that.
I think that's
probably
fair.
Cost us a lot of money as well, which could have bought a striker with. But there you go.
We've got five. We've got
one,
five, mate. Shut your lip.
What would you rather have, Danny Cowley or a striker?
Can Danny Cowley play up front?
Well, Nicky used to play up front, didn't he?
Yeah, tip for
On
Saturday.
Football Manager,
Don't give Preston any penalties. They've just scored 2 tonight at QPR. They're winning 2-0. Big good game Saturday. We'll win that though. Come on, Town.
So maybe the bits of the chicken interview will come out later, and we'll discuss them at a later point. I think there's quite a lot going on there. Other things, guys. Do you want to talk about Project Big Picture? I've written a little bit about it, but I'll leave this up to you guys. Let's show hands. Do you want to talk about it? Anyone?
I think just a quick one. I don't know if you guys saw that the EFL rejected 50 million quid from the Premier League. Again, it was basically, I'm sure people knew, but it was only for League One and League Two, and it wasn't really 50 million, it was 20 million. And if 30 million if your club goes bust. Championship one included.
That's all you need to know about that one.
Danger's on, I reckon, Neil.
Yeah, I think the thing is with the Championship, like it's a weird league, as Neil said. Like Neil kind of touched on. I mean, you've got teams like Wickham who don't really sign anyone, but then you've got Cardiff signing Harry Wilson for £1 million loan fee and paying most of his 60 grand a week wages.
It's scored tonight.
He just has scored. Yeah.
As a fair enough. Well, paid it then. Worth it. I think the only thing I'd say about it is like it's clear that the clubs need money. I think it will happen. I think it's just a case of getting the right deal. And I have to say I'm kind of pleased that the clubs rejected it because
Tommy Smith scored for Stoke as well.
There you go.
Clubs need money. Maybe next season we can. We've got a lot in bank. We can lend it to them at a very high interest rate and make some money that way. See, I'm always thinking.
The only thing I wanted to say about it really is that it to me it just seems to be a complete way of maintaining the status quo and shithousing everyone else in the Football League to try and keep a certain amount of teams at the top. And it seemed to be that on the table would be B teams coming into the Football League. Get fucked, on that one. And then other things as well that Prick Parry's come out with as well, which seems to be that Liverpool and Man United have now gone off and gone, do you know what? We're going to create our own European league to usurp the Champions League. But what they're going to do is they're going to stay in the Football League as well. So it seems to be a chance to stealthily put B teams into the Premier League for Liverpool, because you can guarantee if they're playing 34 European games a season, there is no way they're going to play their first team in the Premier League. So These plans are an absolute crock of shite, and I think they need to get put into the bin.
They are a crock of shite, mate, but we're in category 3.
You do know that doesn't block you out, don't you, when you're doing it?
They are a bad thing, but on the other side, someone's got to be done fast. We're not getting to the stadium anytime soon. We're in deep trouble. We're in deep trouble, and something has got to be done. Obviously,
you can't sell your soul to do it. That's the thing.
No, not that, Matt. And there's obviously an opportunity to do that, but it's very worrying that there's not much movement at the moment, and I'm amazed that there's no one really gone into administration yet. It's shocked me.
They're doing well. Yeah. American capitalists.
Well, I think we'll see though, because wasn't it Tranmere or Scunthorpe that were saying if there's no fans by the end of November, they're gone. So I think someone will go.
You know what though? It could be a really good opportunity for EFL to actually relook at the pyramid sort of thing, because you look down the leagues now in like League 2 and stuff, and you can have teams who are cash strapped for money, travelling ridiculous distances to play matches and stuff like that. And in my opinion, it'd be worth having a look at it. Maybe sort of look into more regionalised things and have Premier League, Championship, League 1 as national, and then maybe split League 2 into North and South, a bit like they've done in Conference and stuff. And, does it give you a couple more derby games a season? Might get more fans through the door. And some of your teams that are just below that, your old conference level could, make it into a bit more of a league. So there's a lot of various options.
I drew these up about 5 years ago, Pos. I drew the exact same thing up, because it's like Germany, isn't it, where there's 3 leagues of 18 or 20, and then underneath it's all junior local leagues, isn't it?
Yeah,
and that was very much my idea, but I had Scotland involved as well, because Scottish football's a state, and I think some of them should be involved, and it'd be...
Well, never mind, porridge gobblers, we're not...
Anyway, shall we move on to Preston and Birmingham, because he's looking like he's going to kick off again.
No, I was just about to say, again, so like just kicking it on, but I went to Scarborough on Saturday, and the one thing that kind of dawned on me, there was 600 there, and people were like, you go to this part of the ground, you go that part of the ground, there are hand sanitizers everywhere. To me, it's the behaviour is so massive in it all. They didn't have any alcohol there, and I honestly think that if you ask a majority of fans if you would go in and not have a drink and behave, I think people would so love to get into a ground for a mental health kind of benefit that they would do it. But I just kind of walked away from that on Saturday thinking it's all about the fans, and I just don't think they can trust them kind of to come in and distance and behave. I think that's the biggest thing really, and that as well. They did on Saturday, and it was weird with like Terracin, and they kind of went with a much reduced capacity. But if it's done right, it's good. But are people going to come out of Gas Club at 2:50 and not do this and that? I just don't see it. So I really don't know where it's all going to end up with all that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, interesting. So, so Brady, take us through Preston Birmingham predictions. You're the predictions man, aren't you? So why don't you take us through the 2 games? I'm putting you on the spot, aren't I? So
yeah, it's all right, mate. I'll get my pen and pad.
We must have done a preview for these.
I've got it lined up, mate.
It's always on the way. Trust in Brady.
Preview.
Don't give it away, Brady. Make them pay content. $4.99 content.
Beyond our Patreon. Brady, send you the iFollow link. Preston, I think it's going to be a tough match. They're a physical team. We saw what happened to them last season when they,
they're looking good tonight, Brady. I've been watching it. They're good, man.
Yeah. They beat Brentford as well, didn't they? I think
they look strong.
I managed to listen to the Stephen Chicken pod before we came on. I kind of agree with what they were saying. I think their plan will be to stop us playing not a bit like Rotherham, but I think Preston can threaten us a bit more than Rotherham. I think I'd be happy with a point. So I'll probably go 1-1 for my prediction for that.
Whenever doing predictions live on here, I work on a bike.
Yep.
There you go, Neil.
That's what we do now, Neil. Show ourselves up.
How it rolls. Right.
So hard to do with it because is Pippa going to be fit, like you said, Neil? If you take him out of it, and then Danny, and we've got to make.
Because I can't mug you off if you don't predict. If you get it wrong.
I think 2-1. We're going to win again. 2-1, Brady. Get it written down.
Right. Go on then. Anyone else?
Who we do? Is it Preston?
Yeah.
Just Preston. I'll go with a 1-0 to Town.
Oh, positivity, yeah.
With a goal, but with a goal from one at 5 strikers. Add that on.
Which striker? Bonus point if you get it.
Ooh, Karoma.
Keane Harrop from nowhere.
1-0 for me, and Benza breaks his duck.
Oh, my word.
Like it.
Go on, Neil. Doom and gloomy, I reckon. Preston away win here.
Well, my last two, I predicted a defeat and a draw, and we've won 2. So I'll go 1-1 again.
Nice. Matt?
1-0 Preston, and you know why.
Nah, you were saying last night on our chat, Matt, Preston are going to nick this. Sorry, last night. They're going to nick it at Derby 1-0, and they didn't. So
yeah, they were. To be fair, I thought they were the better side for the first sort of half, and it looked like because it was so open, wasn't it? But we've done the Derby game, sack it. I can't even speak now. It's time to end it. It's too tiring.
Birmingham next Wednesday, innit?
Yeah, we got to do Birmingham as well, haven't we?
Games, man.
Give me 4 points. I think we won all that.
All right. I was going to do the Birmingham predictions off pod. Think it depends. Just because, everyone...
Slow down.
Whoever's watching in YouTube, everyone looks so bloody happy that we're on these predictions.
Just so they can tell us we don't know what we're actually talking about, Brady.
That's it. Yeah, we're all frauds, mate, aren't we?
We're all crap at this, aren't we?
Dan fraud it.
Yeah. Paul Gibson says 2-0 Town. Dale Marsden says he'll take a draw, and Phil Marston says 0-0. Good side, Preston. So there we go. We got some more thrown in.
When I think of Phil Marston, I just think of chicken and chips, mate.
I'll go with 1-0 Brady for Birmingham.
All right, okay. Si?
0-0 for me. Both sides probably run out of a little bit of gas after quite a few games in short succession.
Nice.
Last
That's
season.
a good shout. Karanka likes defensive. I'll probably go 0-0.
Am I hearing this right? We're predicting 2.
On the bandwagon,
Jesus Christ. I don't like predicting 1.
Go on, Neil.
So angry over there.
I hate Birmingham. I despise Birmingham City.
Come on, Niall.
That's a Birmingham
win. They always play at Tampa, don't they, when they come out?
Is it home or away?
Away.
I like going there, though. It's a bit hostile, isn't it?
It's horrible, mate.
Yeah.
I know so many people beat
No, we're going to beat them because I can't stand them. I hate Birmingham. 2-1 Town.
Hey.
Up there, Town.
Matt?
1-0 Birmingham.
That's Grim Reaper, isn't it?
You don't understanding what's happening, are you, Kosi? You aren't getting the vibe. What's going on? Every time I predict 1-0, we win.
No, I'm turning it over. I'm scared of them now. But no, yeah, I think we're done that way, though. What an amazing few days, man. Wins and positivity.
You all hate Buddy Cat kicking off of you?
No.
Jesus.
Is that the cat doing the predictions?
Yeah. I've got boxes here with treats in Max.
Probably be next.
Like the octopus.
Probably be next Thursday, won't it, when we return? I think.
Possibly to be devised. So thank you everybody for logging on and watching us on YouTube. Thanks everyone for coming in, and thanks to Magic Rock for the sponsorship. And I think there's nothing left, Kosi, is there, but a little bit of music.
Have you got that song, Matt? Yeah.
What's this? What is this?
Are you not singing words, Matt? Come on.
Who's playing?
She does, isn't it?
It's not original, is it?
No.
Right, Kosi, you can end it.
I don't know that word, Smith.
A magic kingdom filled with Barbie dolls. If you got heroes in the land of the free can be what you wanna be.